And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake, and it's been a minute since we've done one of these videos. How you guys doing? Thanks for stopping by. Today we're talking about Monster Hunter Rise. Thanks for your patience. We had to put some hours into this one. Now, this is the newest Monster Hunter game on the scene, and it's, once again, technically on a mobile device, the Nintendo Switch. But this time, it brings a lot of the tricks and vibe it learned from Monster Hunter World and has some new spins of its own. It's a completely new Monster Hunter game with new stuff, new areas, new mechanics, and if you're a Monster Hunter fan, I think you're gonna like it. Especially if you love playing socially or just playing on the go. This feels like the kick-ass Monster Hunter 3DS games, but like bigger and badder. It's probably gonna be one of the better Switch games ever at this point, just from early judgment, especially if you've never played a Monster Hunter before. It's an RPG unlike any other that you've played. Now, two quick notes. I am technically a bit of a newcomer to the series. Only really got in super deep and really appreciated the series with Monster Hunter World, and I've been hooked ever since. But I'm still no diehard pro, so if you see me or my colleagues in the gameplay here making some rookie mistakes and maybe not the most advanced tactics, there you go. I don't know. Now, Monster Hunter games require hours and hours and hours, so some of this gameplay is a little early, but we're just trying to keep you guys informed here. So what is Monster Hunter? Really, I think the biggest thing we should talk about first is Monster Hunter's gift, and maybe even curse, depending on who you ask. It's the learning curve itself. Monster Hunter is a deep, complex game that takes a long freaking time to grasp all the systems, but once you do, and you discover the true meaning of the gameplay loop, you get absolutely addicted, and it can be fun for like seemingly an endless amount of hours. The Monster Hunter formula remains here in Rise, and it's super strong. You craft, you eat, you upgrade, you plan, then you take out jobs, post it, and load into one of the few open biomes that are still seamless, and you hunt your monster. You typically have a set time limit before the monster leaves the area, and even if the time seems generous, some battles can go on for a really long time as the monster can be really strong, or you're under-leveled, or it tends to retreat. So in between bouts, you're sharpening your blade, you're buffing yourself up, maybe setting some traps, or embracing the local flora and fauna for more buffs, which Rise really doubles down on in a nice way, picking up these bugs that'll give you a health boost, a stamina boost, stuff like that. So you jump into the fray and you embrace a bunch of different weapon types. Each weapon has its own great amount of depth and specific type of play style, and just lots to learn with it. Here we're partial to the longsword, the insect glaive, and the switch axe. Each weapon, though, whatever it is, has a varying degree of challenge for wielding it, and the game embraces taking it slow, dodging, and striking at the right moment in the right spot. Something that clearly I'm not always the best at. But it can be incredibly satisfying, and only becomes more satisfying the deeper you get. Now, I said it with Monster Hunter World, and I'll say it again here. Once you get to the levels where you're grinding and you know your prey inside and out, the first time you sidestep a giant dinosaur and slam dunk his head with your giant sword, the game gives you an excellent adrenaline rush and definitely power fantasy vibes. So it makes you earn those moments through learning all of the game's deep systems, and the journey is satisfying. And I think, like I said, they're not so great at onboarding, but it is what it is. If you really want to learn, you get over it. But the game just throws walls and walls of text explaining things to you, making the game seem overly and needlessly complex, but it's not really the case. But after a while, it can be overwhelming. But with this game, ultimately, like a lot of things in life, you just learn better by doing and throwing yourself into it. I think it's worth it. So I just want to say, if you jump into this game and the menus and the early tutorial stuff just really didn't work with you, keep going, keep trying, because it's worth it at the end of the rainbow. You're always grinding out slaying monsters, collecting their hides, and using stuff you get in the world to bring back and make cooler gear like armor sets and weapons. You're also getting gear and leveling up your helpful pet friends. There's a Palico, the cat who is surprisingly adept on the battlefield, and a Palamute, I think that's how you say it, which is kind of like a big dog or an anime direwolf. Also, you can pet him or her, and you can ride it at any time in the world. And it's like an incredibly fast mount, and can get up stuff fairly easily. Plus, you can literally drift and slide boost with your dog that you're riding. That's just, I don't know, man, that's incredible. So the Palico can act as a bit more of a support role here, and the Palamut is more of an attacker, but of course you can adjust their behavior types in one of the tons and tons of menus in this game. You have a lot of control over everything, from your character in the character creator, to the armor types, to the stats, to what kind of mission you want to go on, and the parameters, and although I haven't seen it all yet, seems like you can get a lot of mileage out of this one. Oh, and speaking of control, there's a lot more verticality now. You can trigger these things that can fling you halfway across the map or up a cliff. Plus, you have your own bug-style grappling hook that you can zip straight up, you can zip forward, or pull yourself towards a wall. From these walls, you can run up them or run alongside them, and even though it can be a little finicky at first and it takes a little time to get used to it, you can pull off some amazing movement sequences in this game, from jumping off your dog to sliding down a ledge, jumping off, doing a little flip, bug zipping, flipping again, and so on and so on. They have a cooldown for these things, but the length of cooldown is dependent on what you're using it for, because you can also use it in battle, zipping away from an enemy attack last minute, or using it up close to trigger some cool special attacks, which are different for each weapon. And if you get knocked away, you can use it to zip yourself into a smooth landing, which can be awesome when you pull it off. It changes a lot. Like, this all takes some time to learn, but it's fun to square up against increasingly awesome monsters, but being able to outmaneuver them in new and exciting ways. So between the movement types and the dog mounts and the tricks, coupled with a little bit less spending time in menus, crafting and prepping, and more just picking up the local bug and plant buffs, the game really feels fast-paced and concerned first and foremost with keeping you in the action monster hunting. No real investigating or tracking monsters slowly, more just getting up to them and hitting them in the face with a sword. The verticality of the levels, too, is really interesting. Like, there are a lot of great little hidden areas with stuff to find and little spots, and the actual layout and design is a nice mix between the old simple style and the super complex stuff from World. The snow ice area is my favorite, personally. Plus, there's a crazy amount of monster mounting going on. You can stun and mount beasts and then legit just ride them around the map and do whatever you want. And they have their own unique, awesome movesets, and you can just go and kick other monsters' asses. It's kind of crazy and messy, but it's fun as hell, and it makes for some really great moments, where usually another monster would roam into a fight and cause more chaos and give you more of a headache. Now you always have the opportunity to hop on one of them and use it against another, and just have a ton of fun doing it, running and jumping and sprinting around the map as a creature. There's also a new kind of zone defense horde mode type of quest called Rampage Quests. These bring a lot of great benefits to earn, like exclusive Rampage skills and stuff unlocks through defender tickets you earn. Also, it's just fun. I don't know, like, you set up turrets and traps and defenses around a map and wait for a bunch of monsters to breach in. You can fight them off with the ballistas, and it can all just get really chaotic, especially if you're playing this mode with a friend. It's not like overly complicated in terms of like variation after a while, but it's still just fun and satisfying and a really nice spin, especially it's going to get points from me because usually these types of modes are shoehorned into games and I'm usually just like, ugh, okay. But no, I found this one pretty cool. And there's still plenty to do socially, of course. These games are often best enjoyed with a friend for a lot of people. Although, for me, as a mostly solo player, I didn't have too much of an issue. But there's plenty of stuff to engage in, and the game is basically just designed for it. And when the chaos ramps up, it just gets even better. But what I really like with the Switch was just getting into some local play, hosting a local lobby and playing with somebody else here in the Gameranx office. That was pretty clutch. It also looks surprisingly good for a complex game running on Switch on the Resident Evil engine. I'd love to see it scale up somewhere else over time, but I'm happy this is on the Switch. It just makes sense here. It can be a little framey at times, yes, and that's gonna bother some people, but it's 30 and the portability is just great for this game type, as has been proven in the past before World, but still just awesome and totally at home on the Switch. And again, just to note, I can't speak on the end game quite yet, but the seamless area types, the enemy types, the main quests, the cutscenes, the hub quests, the sub quests, the arena quests, the rampage quests, all of it seems really solid. We don't have enough time today to dive into each and every one of Monster Hunter Rise's staggering amount amount of freaking elements, but on the surface, yeah, this game is really awesome. You just gotta be willing to put the time in. But if you can learn it, you will reap the rewards, and the rewards, it's literally just fun factor, man. But of course, that's a before you buy. You know how this goes down by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinions, so I really want to hear yours down in the comments. Chances are, if you're a Monster Hunter fan, you dove into this, you're probably already playing, but I'd love to hear your favorite monster, your favorite encounter, but I'd also like to hear from newcomers. Maybe if you have a Switch and you're thinking about diving into this, did we convince you? Yes, no, maybe so. Let's talk anything Monster Hunter Rise down in the comments. If you found this video informative and maybe it helped you out, clicking the like button is the best way you can help us out. We would really appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
We don't have any orders. Let's retreat.
It's coming after us!